Back to David. Okay, continue, David.
Quick follow-up on that second question, but the follow-up is just, so you're saying that essentially in that interaction...
Hold on. Okay, everyone, keep it down. We're trying to listen to the question. Go ahead.
Interaction that Peters was summarizing, you're saying actually part of that had to do with First Deputy Mayor Shore saying maybe, there's this federal investigation going on, and so that's the reason not to come forward? Is that
One, I wasn't part of that conversation, the best I remember, and I don't remember it being reported to me. Two, in every instance with DOI, we respected that DOI had a job to do. In fact, if you look at the record, we provide a lot of resources to DOI for additional inspectors and more investigations, additional investigators, I should say, and more investigations. So it was very clear that all of us understood DOI has a job to do. They're going to do it independently. In the instance that you refer to, I'm only giving you a background point, which was the real origination of a lot of the information was the U.S. Attorney investigation that started over 2 years ago. And we tend to be very respectful of federal investigations and allowing them to achieve what they need to achieve. So that's only just for background on that case.
In general, is it ever appropriate for you or a member of your administration to request of DOI that they withhold or not make public a report that was meant to aid?
It's absolutely, let me define it, because I want to put it in my own words. To debate what to do about findings is 100% appropriate. To understand if the findings are accurate, to ask tough questions, to understand what the recommendations are. Not every recommendation is going to be perfect. Some are accepted instantly. Some are debated. That's normal. To talk about how to make sure that the report is complete, how to make sure the agency had a chance to respond. These are all pertinent parts of the process. But what's 100% clear is whatever investigations DOI has initiated, they were always respected. They were seen through to completion. Any existing investigations that they choose to continue, we will absolutely respect their right to do so. And the new commissioner, who has an outstanding record at the Southern District, which is the gold standard in law enforcement and prosecution, and at the Attorney General's office, is going to have the independence to follow through not only on existing investigations, but any new ones that she deems fit. Yes?
Yeah, just to quote from Peter's letter, it says, including a late-night screening call from the mayor and immediate calls in which I was pressured to not issue certain reports, including a report exposing lead-paint safety hazards at NHA, suggest an attempt to punish and intimidate DOI holds passport. Did you call?
False. It's just false. I'm sure I had conversations with Mr. Peters, and I'm sure I had disagreements, but that characterization is false. Yes? Yeah? False. False. It is, look, unfortunately, this is an individual who did some very inappropriate things. There was an independent investigation by a respected investigator who he handpicked and found that he had done inappropriate things. I am exercising my authority under the charter to make sure that there's a change in that office and we bring in someone new and independent and strong. But those characterizations are not fair and not accurate. Yeah. I can only say I'm not here to interpret his words. I know what he's saying there is not accurate. And there were times when there was real professional discussion about specific issues and specific agencies. That's normal, but never an attempt in any way to undermine an investigation.
Over the past year, I think the New York Post, maybe in the Daily News and other places, that you were considering firing him and you were compiling a dossier on him. And some of those reports preceded his takeover of the FBI. So could you speak to that? I mean, were you ever considering getting rid of him before that move that he made?
I'm not going to go into the personnel process and the details. I will only say this. There continue to be questions about other actions he took. I believe there's still some of those being looked at. What's in the McGovern report that you've seen is one set of concerns, but you're also right that at one point a document was leaked that did accurately portray other concerns that have been brought to us by employees. So what's in the McGovern report to date is not the only set of complaints that we received, and that's really, to my mind, unusual to have that kind of level of concern about a DOI commissioner in terms of acting appropriately. But the McGovern report, having provided an objective outside assessment, to me was the straw that broke the camel's back. And as I described the other day, the last step in the process was finding a suitable replacement, and we found one.
So in Mr. Peters' letter, he sort of characterizes that he told Zachary Carter and Dean Pullman his intent to merge SCI, and they never expressed any concern. He kind of made it seem like it was a setup. What's your interpretation?
I interpret it the same way the McGovern report interprets it. He gave some kind of summary. He didn't, from everything, I mean, that report is quite exhaustive, did not make clear the full ramification in the midst of a long agenda with other things on it, didn't ask support or assent. When they went and tried to get some assent from the Department of Education, they didn't get it. No, this was not the right way to do things. On something of that magnitude, it should have been presented with all the pros and cons, the real legal questions. And as I said the other day, you know, Anastasia Coleman was asking a central legal question. Is what he was trying to do legal? And the answer was no. Go ahead.
A video surfaced last week showing a bomb detection dog at the Staten Island ferry, alerting its handler of what may have been a potential explosive device. Instead of immediately securing the area, the bag and the bag owner, etc., which security experts say should have happened, the bag was left to sit there for minutes as commuters and children were passing right by it. And people in the video can also be seen, security personnel at the ferry can be seen talking on their cell phones over the bag, which security experts also say could have detonated an explosive device had it been inside of the bag. Have you seen the video, and what are your thoughts? And do you think that security at the Staten Island ferry need to be retrained in how to respond to these?
So, two-part answer. One, in terms of stopping terrorism, the track record of the NYPD has been exceptional. So I have tremendous faith in the NYPD, and particularly in the counter-terror units that we have created and built up in recent years. That said, any instance where an individual might not have done what they should have done, we have to look into. I haven't seen the video. I will look at it, but more importantly, I'll talk to Commissioner O'Neill about it directly. And if something different has to be done with that officer or those officers, or with the overall approach to the Staten Island Ferry Terminal, we will do it, because we take this stuff very, very seriously. Yes? No, over here. I'm going off, then to you.
From the Mark Peters letter, he wrote about a January 2017 report on ACS that was focusing on its 24-hour call center. It was highly critical of ACS, and he wrote that, quote, and this is January 2017, quote, "I received a call from the mayor in which he asked me not to release this ACS report."
Again, false. I will only say broadly, there have been conversations about reports, about accuracy, about specific recommendations, all sorts of things, but never a conversation where there was an effort to inhibit the actions of DOI on a specific report. It's just not right. That's all I have to say. Go ahead.
When you say it's false, you're alleging that he's lying, correct?
I'm not going to characterize it. I'm saying that statement is false.
Do you have any idea why he would feel that way?
I am not going to get inside his head. Go ahead.
Do you think that there's a universe in which you calling a city watchdog and talking to him about that report at all, and telling him that it might be inaccurate, would in any way indicate a pressure to not release?
No, not in the least, because look at all the reports that were released consistently. Even when we debated specific concerns within them, report after report after report, look at all the extra resources that were provided to DOI to do more reports on more topics. Not at all.
The governor was on Brian Lehrer this morning, and he says he's against any fare increase by the MTA, and he also said he thinks that there is an inequitable system of some bridges having tolls and some not having tolls. He wants to review that and thinks there should be tolls on the bridges as part of the congestion pricing program.
I want to see what he said specifically, because I haven't seen that or heard that yet. I've made clear that the Governor's Commission, which I think came up with an important breakthrough, which was to see congestion pricing separate from the status of East River bridges. I thought that was a really important breakthrough. So again, this sounds different, but I don't want to characterize it until I've heard it. No, I've been very, very clear. I haven't been in favor of the previous versions of congestion pricing. I've started to open my mind because I got away from the bridges. So, you know, I'll take a look at it. But the more important point is, the only way we could proceed with any vision like that is by addressing the issues of fairness to the outer boroughs and addressing issues of fairness to individual New Yorkers. That's conceivable to do, but that's going to be a long discussion with the legislature as well. Yes?
Peter's letter describes Anthony Shores calling him up and telling him to basically hold off on releasing, and actually not to release the financial lead pay November 2017 report. So, and you've said that there have been conversations about accuracy, maybe timing, things like that. So what were the conversations preceding that conversation?
I can't review that for you. Just can't tell you, my friend. You can speak in a sonorous voice all you want. I can't recall to you exactly what happened that night and one thing or another. Just not going to even pretend. Back there.
Mr. Mayor, Chancellor put Lorenzo and I met in June, and I asked him why are Bronx public schools not performing as the rest of the city. His answer was the mayor and I know that Bronx public schools are not performing as they should. I'm new here. He'd have to get back to me, which he hasn't. I saw the teacher's contract with the Bronx plan. Okay, do you think that's going to work? Because that was tried 10 years ago, and it didn't work. And I spoke.
No, wait, whoa. It was not tried 10 years ago. What we're talking about in this thing, this new contract with the UFT has never been tried. Excuse me, I've been over this history. We can agree to disagree if you like, but it's never been tried on the level we're talking about before of a huge number of schools and a systematic approach to provide extra incentives in the subject matters where we have a lack of teachers and the places where we have a lack of teachers. It's never been tried on this scale, and it's never been tried with the agreement of the union contractually. So this is something that people tried to achieve for years. We're the ones to achieve it. I think it's going to have a huge positive impact in the Bronx. The Bronx schools that have suffered could never turn the corner until they could get enough quality teachers in the subject matter that they had lacking. That's just a true statement. It's not the only statement. It's not the only factor, but that's part of it. Okay, we'll do a few more. David.
Another element of this letter, there's some ongoing investigations that Mark Peters raised the issue of how those will be effective here, chilling effect. It brings up an inquiry into how sexual assault and other kind of sex crimes are being investigated in the NYPD. And he says that the head of the Special Victims Division was removed on the same day that he himself was fired. And he alleges that was done because of information that was given to his investigators by that same head of SPD.
That's false. And I'm sorry he has delusions of grandeur thinking everything revolves around him. But the fact is, we had told you for months there was a major leadership change at the NYPD when Dermot Shea became chief of detectives. We said at that time there was a full review being done of SVU. In fact, not only the DOI report, but a number of other advocates had raised real concerns about the personnel levels at SVU and whether changes needed to be made. I think a lot of you have watched the work of Dermot Shea for a long time. He's an outstanding public servant. He undertook a very objective review, came to the conclusion that a number of changes had to be made. That discussion had been going on internally for a while. It was announced when it was announced, had nothing to do with the other matters. And I believe it was the right thing to do to move that unit forward. 2 more.
So, Mr. Mayor, as far as you know or have the information, no one in your administration has ever requested of the DOI commissioner to suppress the output of a report, right?
You can talk about specifics in a report and never, ever suppress it or want to suppress it or believe it should be suppressed. Every report that was started was followed through on, and that was how it worked.
Were you ever concerned enough about Mr. Peters to tape a conversation you were having with him?
Me personally, no. No. Okay, last one back there. Yep.
Mayor, in his letter, Mr. Peters says that Mr. McGovern never recommended that he be fired. He recommended that discipline be a letter he put into his file. So why did you go forward?
Because I looked at what was in that report and I found it unbecoming of a public servant, particularly one who is supposed to hold the highest standards of integrity. That's the job, is the integrity job. And where those fundamental problems were being portrayed objectively, again, by an investigator he handpicked, when I saw the fullness of that, I said, this is just not an acceptable situation. It can't go on. We need someone more objective, more independent, more effective, and we have that person in Margaret Garnett. Thanks, everyone.